Heaven Official's Blessing. Chapter 64. Audio source: WuXiaWorldAudiobook.com. Lost Red Pearl. Inadvertent eyes red with desire. Xie Lian soothed. Don't be afraid, I'm not going to do anything. I only want to check your injuries. That child, however, pressed his hands harder, revealing only one large obsidian eye, looking panicked. But this panic didn't seem like he was afraid he would get beaten, but rather that something would be discovered. Looking at this little face half covered with only an eye, Xie Lian suddenly thought he might have seen this child somewhere and squinted his eyes. Qi Rong saw his upset face and explained. Cousin Crown Prince, that little fiend ruined your grand ceremony yesterday, so I avenged you. Don't worry, I was careful, he won't die. Sure enough, the child held in his arms was the one who fell from the city wall during the Shang Yuan heavenly ceremonial procession the day before. No wonder Xie Lian thought he looked familiar. This little child hadn't even changed. He was still wearing the same outfit as the day before, but because of all the beating and dragging, it was filthier and looked nothing like before, not even like it was the same person. Xie Lian couldn't hold back his anger anymore. WHO told you to avenge me. It has nothing to do with this child. It wasn't his fault. Qi Rong justified himself. Of course it's his fault. If not for him, you wouldn't have gotten scolded by the head priest. This ruckus was growing out of hand, and the crowds watching was becoming bigger, all whispering to each other. Just then, Mu Qing approached too, and Qi Rong pointed his whip at him. His dissenting expression was laced with hostility. And you lowly servant. Just by the looks of him I can tell he doesn't know his place. If you don't discipline him, sooner or later he's going to overthrow and step on you, the master. I help you discipline him, but you turned around and defended him instead, and told on me too. Now Uncle and Auntie not only disregarded my goodwill, they even confiscated my golden carriage. Cousin, that was my birthday gift. I've wanted it for over 2 years. Mu Qing gave Qi Rong an unreadable sweeping look. Xie Lian puffed a laugh from rage. I don't need your goodwill, not like this. Are you really avenging me? Or are you avenging yourself? Qi Rong said, Cousin, why would you say that to me? And what have I done wrong in following after you? Xie Lian couldn't argue with him. Qi Rong, listen here. From now on, you're not allowed to touch this child. Not even a finger. Do you hear me? Just then, Xie Lian suddenly felt a pull on his neck. He was just at the height of his fury and was startled. He looked down and saw that young child buried his face in his chest, his 2 hands tightly encircled around Xie Lian's neck. Xie Lian felt him shake uncontrollably and thought he was hurting. He asked hurriedly, What's wrong? That young child was covered all over in mud, dust, and blood, filthy and unkempt, and it all smeared onto Xie Lian's white robe, but Xie Lian didn't mind it at all. He gently patted the child's back to comfort him and said in a gentle voice, I'll go take you to the doctors right now. That child didn't respond, but he hugged Xie Lian even tighter. He was tense and wouldn't let go, as if he was holding on to a lifeline. Qi Rong saw that Xie Lian wouldn't acknowledge his goodwill, his heart solely on outsiders, then saw that kid sullied Xie Lian's robes with that bloody, muddy shit. His anger flared. He raised the whip and was about to lash the back of that child's head. Feng Xin was standing on the side, and in a split second, his leg flew out and kicked Qi Rong right on the arm. There was a large crack, and Qi Rong screamed. The whip fell to the ground, and his right arm dropped limply in an abnormal angle. He was still suspended in disbelief, and it wasn't for a while before he slowly raised his head, glaring at Feng Xin, enunciating each word. You dare break my arm. The words were extremely cold. It was only until after he kicked that Feng Xin realized what he had done, and his face changed, but Mu Qing's face changed more than the other two. No matter how much they detested Qi Rong behind his back, that's one thing. But as a personal guard, to have transgressed and accidentally breaking the arm of royalty was something completely different. Just now Xie Lian had his hands full with that child, and behind him was full of onlookers, so he couldn't dodge, but if he did dodge it would have been a piece of cake too. Only Qi Rong came at him with such aggression, and often out of the blue. Feng Xin moved too fast without thinking. Xie Lian didn't have the chance to stop him. Now everything was in even more of an uproar, and Xie Lian didn't have time to think either. His clothes were getting soaked in blood. If they delay any longer, the child might just die right there. Xie Lian made a split-second decision, inhaled deeply, and shouted in a clear voice. Everyone, if anyone was pulled into this incident today, please record any damages and loss. I will take all responsibility without fail. Then, he turned to Feng Xin and Mu Qing. Save the child first. Take Qi Rong away, and don't let him continue havoc outside. Finishing his instructions, Xie Lian ran towards the palace with the child in his arms. Feng Xin received the command, his expression back to normal, and picked up the raging Qi Rong before following after Xie Lian. The soldiers guarding the palace gates thought it was strange to see the crown prince racing back, having only left but a short while ago. But naturally they wouldn't stop him. Thus, Xie Lian ran straight to the medical pavilion, and entered the infirmary, leaving Feng Xin and Mu Qing outside the door with Qi Rong under arrest. The crown prince rarely returned to the palace, and rarely made demands, so the imperial doctors naturally rushed over speedily. Xie Lian placed the young child in a chair and said, "Thanks in advance, everyone. This child was beaten by a number of grown-ups, got stuffed into a gunny sack, and dragged on the roads. Please check for me if there are any head injuries first, that's the most important thing." The imperial medical team had never seen a royal or a noble bring a dirty wild babes for them to heal before. But they also know they just need to do whatever they're told to, and all acknowledged Xie Lian's direction. One of them spoke. "Put your hands down first, little kid." However, although that young child was docile in Xie Lian's arms the whole time, he started struggling then and firmly covered right side of his face, refusing to let go no matter what. No matter how skilled the imperial doctors were, if the patient didn't cooperate, there wasn't anything they could do. The doctors looked to Xie Lian. "Your Highness, how?" Xie Lian raised a hand. "He's probably afraid of strangers. Don't worry, let me." That child was sitting in a chair, and Xie Lian couldn't meet his eyes, so he bent forward and inclined his head. "What's your name?" The large eye of that child stared at him intently. His obsidian black pupil reflected a snow-white reflection. This gaze, if it must be described, was exactly like Feng Xin had said. Possessed by the devil, and shouldn't be the gaze of a child. It was for a moment before the child lowered his head. "Hong." His voice was tiny and soft, mumbled, like he didn't want to say it, but also a little embarrassed. Xie Lian only sort of heard the word, "Hong," one, and asked again, "How old are you?" 10. That child replied. Xie Lian was only asking offhandedly, hoping to lower his guard, but hearing that he responded with 10, he was startled and thought, "I thought he was only 7 or 8, but he's 10? This child is truly weak and emaciated." After a pause, Xie Lian smiled softly. "The doctors will see to your wounds now. Don't be afraid and lower your hands, okay?" That child heard, but hesitantly shook his head. "Why not?" Xie Lian asked. He was silent for a while before replying, "Ugly." His response was just the one word, and no matter how Xie Lian soothed, he refused to let go of his hands. Xie Lian promised that he won't think him ugly, that he won't look, but turning around wouldn't do either. Such a young age, but such obstinance. Without choice, the imperial doctors could only ask him a few questions. Have him recognize number of fingers, making sure he didn't feel faint or have any headaches, that he understood what he saw and what he thought, then tend to his physical wounds. As the imperial doctors worked, they became more and more odd. Xie Lian guarded on the side, hearing their sounds of wonder, and asked, "How is he, everyone?" One of the imperial doctors couldn't help but ask. Your Highness, did this little kid really get beaten and dragged on the roads in a gunny sack? Xie Lian was speechless. Why would it be false? The imperial doctor replied, if that was the case then, amazing. I have never seen anyone so tenacious. He has 5 broken ribs and a leg, a number of injuries big and small, and with all of that added together, he remains conscious and converses while sitting up. Even adults would find this difficult to do, never mind a 10-year-old child. Hearing how severe the injuries were, Xie Lian became even more furious at Qu Rong. He looked to that child and saw that he was sitting there on that chair as if he felt no pain, and was peeking at him with that large black left eye. When he noticed he was caught by Xie Lian, he immediately turned his head away. Translator's notes. Hong, pinyin, hong, is the word for red. End chapter.